What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to share with you real figures of how much it cost me to start my online coaching business. Now, for those who don't know, I'm not just a YouTuber that posts about social media. I also have a coaching business in which YouTube actually drives a lot of traffic to, like I mentioned in my previous video right here. Now, I'm not going to talk so much about myself in this video, but if you want to learn more about my journey, then definitely check out this video right here as well. That being said, guys, if you are interested in starting your own online coaching business, but you're unsure about the investment, or you're just curious to know how much I've spent so far on my business, then keep on watching. Now, to make this video easy for you to follow, what I've done is I've split my business costs in 5 categories. The first is training and education. How much money have I spent on mentorship, programs, and courses? The second one is software and technology. How much money do I spend a month, and what types of software do I use in order to keep my business running? The third is legal. How much money did I spend on incorporating my business, my lawyers, the contracts that I've done, all that stuff. And then the fourth one is accounting, anything related to finances really. How much do I pay my accountant? How much do I pay my bookkeepers? What type of software I use for that? And then last but not least, hiring. How much money have I spent on outsourcing? Especially if you are someone who is thinking about maybe outsourcing or thinking about, really scaling your business, I really wanted to include this as a category as well. On a final note, before we dive right in, how I choose to spend my money is my business and no one else's, and the same principle applies to you. That's why every time I'll share a real figure, I'm also going to try my very best to recommend either a more affordable or free option so that anyone at any level does not feel threatened or feel intimidated to invest in starting their own business. The last thing I want is for people to feel intimidated or feel scared off by starting their own business, so I really want to just at least to put that out there. Now, diving right in, the first category that we have is education and training. So here's the story. When I had the idea of starting my online business, I had a lot of fears that were preventing me from taking action. And for a very long time, I was so stubborn. I was trying to do the DIY route, which means that you just try to figure everything out on your own. And that was a total fail. I had a lot of things that were keeping me stuck. And that's when I knew I needed to hire a mentor. So the first thing that I invested in was a $4,000 one-on-one mentorship program. Now, regardless if you are someone who wants to start your own coaching business or a different type of business, I personally believe that having a mentor was one of the best investments that I ever made. If you want to learn more about mentorship, definitely check out this video that I have right here. Now, I personally think, depending on your budget, having a mentor, either free or paid, or even joining a course or a program, is one of the best investments that you'll ever make in your business. So I definitely consider this as a non-negotiable. And the reason why I say this is because yes, you could definitely try to figure out everything on your own, but at that point in your business, time is actually a lot more valuable than money. Imagine the amount of time that you would have to spend DIYing, trying to figure out and trying to piece things together, when you can actually invest in someone else who's already done the things that you want to do and actually give you the entire framework and coach you through it. So I highly recommend that with any stage of your business, always have a mentor that has your back and really is someone that is a soundboard and that will keep you accountable throughout this journey. The second bigger investment that I made in my business in terms of education and training was my neuro-linguistic programming practitioner training. Now, at that point in my business, I was still starting out and I really wanted to level up my coaching skills. That's why I was super drawn to learning NLP and becoming a practitioner in it. Now, if you are someone who has no idea what NLP is, I personally think that Project Life Mastery does a really great explanation in his video right here, so I highly recommend that you check it out. Now, before I move on, I'm gonna be a mind reader here. I know a lot of people are now freaking out, being like, oh my gosh, do I need to drop $2,000 on a certification as well? Well, my answer is no, not really. I personally think that if you're starting out, the best possible investment of your time is going to be working with real clients, paid or free. If you actually spent more time working with real people, getting them results versus spending all your time having analysis paralysis on what certification to get, I promise you, just the act of working with clients is going to help you narrow down what type of certification you really need. At the end of the day, trainings and certifications are little boosters that you can add to fill the gaps within your skill set, but unless you actually take those existing skills you have to the test, you're never really going to know which certification or types of trainings you really need, if you need any at all. On that note though, if you are someone who does want to level up your skills, but you don't have $2,000 to drop in one go just for one training and one certification, a really great alternative is buying courses. In terms of real figures, I've probably spent $2,000 total in buying a lot of different courses. courses. So my money actually was able to buy me tons and tons of courses and learn from different types of mentors. I've been a student of Sunny Lenarduzzi, Amy Porterfield, Russell Brunson, just to name a couple of amazing entrepreneurs that I've learned from. So I highly recommend that courses are a really great way to at least get some extra learning for a cheaper price point and being able to learn from a lot more people because of how affordable some courses really are. So with that being said, within the education and training category, in total, I've spent about $8,000. Now this number is obviously going to increase. I already have a lot of ideas and plans on investing in more mentorship, more courses, and more programs. As a business owner, this is one of the most important investments that you can make, because the more that you invest in yourself, the more you invest in your skills, and the more you invest in your learning, your business will exponentially grow faster and bigger over time. So this is definitely a category that you don't want to cheap out on and is super crucial in terms of building the foundation of yourself and your business. Moving on to the second category, and this is a major category, and that is software and technology. Now, software is one of the major things that you need to have in your business to ensure that you can conduct business day to day. This includes your email marketing software, how you communicate with your clients, how you invoice your clients. There are so many different pieces of software that even when I started my business, I didn't even know I needed. Now, because I am giving you all of my real figures, I do have to rely on my phone because I have all my notes there. But the very first thing that any business owner, regardless if you're a coach, that you need is your website. So when I first started, I got my domain www.vanessalau.co off GoDaddy. It was a one-time fee of $15, but every year I have to renew that domain. So that actually costs me about $65 a year. Not only this, with websites, you're also going to need a web host. For me, I use SiteGround, and that costs me about $150 a year to host, which equates to about like $12.50 a month. Not only this, a question that I always get about my website is if I use Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, what do I use? Personally, for me, I use WordPress.org, and on top of WordPress, I actually have a plugin that I bought, and it's called Elementor. Elementor is essentially a drag and drop page builder that WordPress offers, and it's a really great plugin. There's a free version and there's also a paid version. I personally have the paid version, so I pay about $50 a year for that, which equates to like $4 a month, which is not bad. On the topic of websites, once someone goes to your website, they're going to need to have a way to contact you. Now, for a lot of people who are on a budget, you could easily just use your regular Gmail account or Hotmail account or whatever you want. But if you want to maintain a level of professionalism, I highly recommend actually having an email that ends with your business name. For instance, for my email, it's support@vanessalau.co for my customer service. In order to get this, I actually invested in G Suite, and that costs about $15 a month. And not only this, on the topic of emails, if you're running a business, you're definitely going to also need an email marketing software. For me, I use ConvertKit, and ConvertKit for me costs around $250 a month. And the reason why it's so expensive for me is because I do have an email list of like almost 30,000 people, so that's why it's so costly for me. Now, if you are on a budget, I highly also recommend MailChimp if you're just starting out and you don't have enough money to invest in email marketing software. But of course, as you grow in your business, MailChimp is not going to be enough, and you are going to need to upgrade to things like ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Drip, all these other email marketing providers. So already within the website/email side of software, I spend around $287 a month on this stuff alone. Not only this, within software, you also have to think about the software you need in order to maintain your relationship with your clients or your potential clients. For example, one piece of software that's super common in the coaching world is a calendar booking system. You need to have a booking system that allows your potential prospects or your current clients to book you for meetings. For me, I use Calendly, and that costs me about $15 a month. Now, if you are on a budget, you could certainly do the back and forth with your clients or your potential clients and just book things manually through your Google Calendar. That is absolutely fine. But if you really want to be professional and have things booked really quickly for you, then I highly recommend using something like Calendly or even Acuity. Another really important piece of software that you're also going to need to invest in your coaching business is a video messaging software. You need to have a platform where you can host your meetings, not just with your clients, but your prospective clients as well. A really great platform that I use and that a lot of coaches use is called Zoom. I pay about $15 a month for it, and the reason why I love it is because each of my clients have their own private line. I have a lot of functionalities with it, like recording calls and all these things. You can always check out the website. I'll put the link in the comment section below or the description section below. Now, if you are someone who is on a budget and you don't really have the money to invest in something like this yet, don't worry, you can always use Skype or Google Hangouts as well. Now, something that you need to know when it comes to having a coaching business is outside of having one-on-one calls with your clients or your prospects, you're also going to need to have some sort of communication platform that allows you to keep in touch with your clients offline. Personally, for me, I don't really like it when my clients DM me or private message me on my social media accounts when they want to talk about business. That's why I have a private platform called Slack that I invest in. I pay about $15 a month because I pay per head, and all of my clients are there in order to ask me any questions related to their business. Now, if you don't have that type of money, a really great alternative is Voxer. Voxer is something that a lot of coaches use. It's absolutely free, and I highly recommend that you use it, especially if you are on a budget. Since we're still on the topic of clients, there are two other pieces of software that I want to mention. The first is an invoicing software. How are you going to actually charge your clients for your services? For me, I use a free software called Wave. It's absolutely amazing. All of my invoices are done through there, so I highly recommend it. And not only this, I also use a software called DocuSign. DocuSign is a piece of software that allows me to get my clients to sign contracts super fast. It really eliminates a lot of the back and forth. Now, I pay about $15 a month for DocuSign, but there is a free version. The only thing with the free version is I think that you are limited with the amount of contracts that you can send. Now, if you wanted to do it the other way and you don't want to pay for something like this, the only issue is that you're going to have a lot of back and forth with your clients in terms of getting your contract signed. Versus if you use a software like DocuSign, I'm able to just with a click of the button, the moment a client says that they want to work with me, I send you the contract, they read it, they fill out the form, and that's it. And on my end, I'm also able to see if that client has viewed it, if they've opened it, if they signed it. So in terms of the follow-up, it's a lot more seamless. Now, is it absolutely necessary in your business when you're starting out? Not really, but it does really speed up the process in order for you to close those clients. As you can see from our current tally, I spend about $55 a month alone just on client upkeep. Now, when it comes to software, there is one more that I need to mention, and that is a membership platform. As a coach, whether it's now or in the future, you're probably going to want to create courses at some point. For me, I use the membership site called Kajabi. It costs me about $260 a month with the growth plan. Now, this is really expensive for a membership platform, I admit that, but I really, really love Kajabi. Now, if you don't have that type of budget, which a lot of people might not, you can also use a platform called Teachable. Based on my research, Teachable is one of the most affordable membership platforms, so I highly recommend that too if you are starting out and if you don't have the money to invest yet in a more robust piece of software. So when it comes to software, the email, the web, the client upkeep, the course platform, and all of that, in total per month, I pay $500, which leads us to the next category, and that is legal. Now, when it comes to legal affairs, a common question is, oh my goodness, do I need to invest in a lawyer? Do I need to incorporate? Do I need to do all these things, get a business license and all of that? Well, my answer to you is when I started, I didn't do any of this until I started making money on the business. Because at the time, I was broke. I didn't have the amount of money to spend on contracts, to spend on lawyers, and to spend on incorporation. So this wasn't something I did until I really started to get my first few clients and started to actually make real money. With that being said though, investing in this aspect of your business is one of the most important things that you need to do. That's why the moment I made money, I reinvested it right back into my legal affairs because I didn't want to put my business at risk. I wanted to make sure that everything was set up properly and that my business was protected full on. So the very first thing that I invested in when it comes to legal affairs was incorporating my business. Now, I know that the lingo is really different for you guys in the States, so you definitely want to do your research, but for me, I incorporated my business with a real lawyer, and that costed me about $1,250. Now, of course, if you are on a budget and you don't have the means to do it with a lawyer, you can certainly do it yourself. At least that's what it's like in Canada. And generally, if you do it yourself, it'll cost way less than $1,000. However, for me, I wanted to make sure that it was done right because I really didn't trust myself to do this. And also, it wasn't my area of expertise. And I had a feeling that if I ever messed up, it would actually cost me more to fix it, which is why I would rather just straight up invest in an expert to do it for me. Another thing that I also relied on experts to do, aka lawyers to do, were my contracts. Now, when I first started, I definitely had no money to invest in paying lawyers to do my contracts for me, so I actually used contracts that I found online, which is really dangerous because you never know how things are drafted and how things could be used against you, especially if this isn't your area of expertise. So it's not necessarily advice that I would give, but I did pass with some contracts that I found online. However, the moment I started making more money in my business, I definitely invested in getting contracts of my own. On the topic of contracts, something that I also want to say is you do not want to steal other people's contracts and copy it word for word because that is copyright infringement and you can get sued if you get caught. So please be careful when you're doing this. That's why I highly recommend that one of the first investments that you make is protecting yourself and your business by creating your own contracts with real lawyers. For me, I spent $3,000 total with all of my contracts, and specifically, these are the contracts that I invested in. Terms and conditions, privacy policy, earnings disclaimer, a one-on-one coaching agreement. So this is the agreement that I send to my clients one-on-one, a group coaching agreement, so a contract that I would actually send out if I ever did group coaching programs, an online course agreement. So this is the terms and conditions that I have for my courses, and also an independent contractor agreement as well. And this is for people who I hire, and I need to make sure that they're following the rules within my business and that everything is all good. So these are the specific contracts that I personally invested in. I got a package with a lawyer and it costed me $3,000 for all of it. Speaking of lawyers, something that I also invested in was having my lawyers on retainer. What this means is that if I ever got sued or my business got sued, instead of getting the "you got served" mail sent directly to my home, it automatically gets sent to my lawyer's law firm. And because they have me on file, they're going to be able to act on it right away, take action on it, and act on my behalf. If I didn't have them on retainer, that means that it increases the chances of me missing that mail and creating more problems in my business. So that's why I personally think it's really important to have a lawyer on retainer so that you can have someone already act on your behalf immediately without any delay if you ever got into any legal issues. So all in all, when it comes to legal affairs in total, I've spent about $4,750 to protect my business. Moving on to the fourth category, and that is accounting and just finance management in general. Now, when it comes to business, one of the first things that you're gonna learn is that you need to keep your business expenses and your personal expenses separate. So that's why immediately what I did was actually open a business banking account. For me, I do all of my business in US dollars, so I have a US banking account, and that costs me about $6 a month to have. Not only this, within your business, one of the most important people that you're gonna need to hire or at least seek out is going to be an accountant, especially during tax season. But beyond that, even just for regular maintenance and check-ins, you want to have an accountant by your side, specifically a tax accountant, to make sure that you're making the best decisions within your business. Not only this, something that you also want to be aware of is that if you are someone who is unsure of what type of corporation you should have, S Corp, LLC, sole proprietorship, or incorporation, the first person that you're going to need to talk to is an accountant. Do not go to a lawyer first. You need to talk to an accountant about that stuff, and they're going to be able to figure out how to organize your business that makes sense for your personal situation. On top of that general consulting that accountants do for you, one of the major things that they're going to help you on is your taxes and your tax planning. So specifically for my annual tax return for my corporation and also my general tax planning, I pay my accountant $2,200. Not only this, something that you also need to be aware of is that an accountant and a bookkeeper is completely separate and different. Accountants help you with the strategic side of your business, whereas bookkeepers are the ones that are helping you with your expenses and managing your books. For me, when I was first starting out, I obviously didn't have the money to hire a real bookkeeper, so what I used was the app called Wave that I mentioned before. And this is where you kind of reconcile all of your accounts and you plug everything in and you kind of do it manually, which is absolutely fine. But eventually I grew my business to 6 figures, and I realized that this was something I heavily needed to invest in because I didn't have the time or capacity or the desire to do this type of stuff myself. So I use a software, or I use a service called Bench. Now, Bench is a really great software that I'm using. Basically, instead of me DIYing it, it's actual real bookkeepers on the other end that are helping me with my stuff. I meet with them once a month and they give me a financial report, and at the end of my corporate year, I'm able to actually take all this information that real bookkeepers and professionals have done for me to give it to my accountant and actually have a real accurate depiction of what's going out of my business and what's coming in. With that being said, obviously with Bench, it's a little bit of a step up between using a DIY software like Wave or FreshBooks or QuickBooks. So I pay about $2,200 a year just to have that service of having real experts do my bookkeeping for me. That being said, as you can see from the tally, with the amount of money that I'm spending on my business account, on my accountant, and my bookkeepers, I spend about $4,472 a year on my business finances alone. Now, moving on to the very last category in my business expenses, and that is hiring and outsourcing. Now, I didn't start hiring people in my business until very recently, when I started to hit a really big ceiling in terms of the amount of things that I could do, and also when I got to the next level in terms of the income that I was making. Now, a really great question that I get a lot is, Vanessa, how do I know when to hire people? How do I know when to outsource? A really great piece of advice that I've gotten from other entrepreneurs is that the moment you start making silly mistakes in your business is when you know that you're kind of burnt out and you really need the help. So I definitely noticed in my own business that I was making a lot of silly silly mistakes. I was missing emails. I was just a mess. And that's when I knew I really needed help. Now, at this stage in my business, I have two beautiful, amazing humans that work under me. On one hand, I have one person who really helps me with basically a lot of things. I treat as a right-hand woman. She takes a lot of the small but important things off my plate, and her position is very much so versatile, and I could not honestly be in business without her. She is so helpful in my business. She kind of does a lot of like administrative / community management work. She is just a huge blessing that I have. Not only this, on the other hand, I've recently hired a video editor, so you'll notice a lot of my videos have really upped its like quality game, and it's really thanks to her. Her name is Elena. I'll link all of her information here if you are someone who's interested in hiring a video editor as well. That being said, I feel like it's super inappropriate to disclose how much I pay these two amazing women, but let's just ballpark and say at minimum I pay $3,000 a month, which equates to around $36,000 a year. So with everything said and done, let's just recap all 5 categories. Now, I've split it up into 2 parts. The first part is my sunk costs. So these are all the things that I've already paid for. I cannot recover these costs, and that is $8,000 for education and training, $4,750 for my legal affairs, and then $4,472 for like my financial management. So in total, my sunk costs, aka the money that I cannot get back, is $17,222. Now, when it comes to my reoccurring costs, aka my monthly costs, let's just multiply all my monthly costs by 12 months so we get the full year picture. Now, I pay $500 per month on software, and then I also pay $3,000 a month on like outsourcing. So in total, that is $42,000 per year, which was, wow, it adds up. So if I were to add all my costs together, my sunk costs and my variable costs, my total cost would be $59,222. Now, I know a lot of you guys who are watching this are probably freaked out that it basically costs me $60,000 to run my 6-figure business, but at the end of the day, you also have to realize that not every single thing that I mentioned is going to be applicable to you. You don't have to spend the things that I've spent on. You can choose the alternatives that I mentioned and all of that stuff. You can skip a couple steps. It does not matter. Please do not be discouraged, but at the end of the day, something that I do want to highlight is that revenue does not equal profit. I think there's a huge misconception that a lot of people have is that the moment I make 6 figures in my business or the moment I hit 7 figures, I am rich. I am suddenly basking in money and I'm, driving a Ferrari and buying a house and all of that. But what I've learned in my own journey is even though I've made multiple 6 figures in my business, I'm still pretty much broke. I have a lot of bills to pay, and as your business grows, your expenses grow. That's just naturally like that. And on top of that, you also want to add on the taxes that you have to pay as well, which is also a lot of money, especially when you hit this certain tax bracket. Now, I know that this video was so overwhelming. There were so many different types of things to consider. So to help you out, in the description box below, every piece of software that I mentioned is going to be in the description box. Not only this, I've also included a freebie for you to download that's really a recap of everything that I mentioned in this video today and a little bit more as well. Not only this, if you are interested in learning more about having a coaching business or business in general, make sure you like this video or at least comment below to let me know if you want more of this type of topic on my channel. Now, if you want to learn more about business, life, and just social media or anything like that in general, make sure you also look at these 2 videos I have right here. As always, guys, I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great day, a great week, and a great life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.